Welcome to all of you to this beautiful meeting, as I like to call it. It's all about love. And to all of you embodiments of love, welcome today. You know, Dick Weaver, who has been singing ahead of time for half hours for long, I'd say, Dick, I think it's time for you to do another recording, because your songs are so much about this subject. It's all about love, and it is a beautiful thing. Probably we should, this is supposed to be from 3 to 3:30, just his singing quiet time. Maybe we ought to bring the program up to 3 and make him the headliner. I apologize to Ray and Lynn. I don't want to take the spirit out of your talk, okay? As you know, as part of our programs of welcome all of you, and especially anyone who's been here for the first time, to this join in just this meeting of It's All About Love. And that's why we come and gather, to share our stories of how we love God and how God loves us. As my favorite saying is nowadays is, God is love, live in love. It's one of the sayings of Satya Sai Baba, and that has become sort of my theme of life. Otherwise, they're called mantras. On the program next is always our beloved Rita Daniele. She and her husband Bob have been dedicated workers at the Satya Sai Baba centers for as long as I remember. And now even a little I remember, because it was today, I didn't know that Rita became acquainted with Elsie and the book center in the beginning of it in 1973. So I guess at her young age, we have to say that she's now the oldest volunteer at Satya Sai Book Center. So she always says some very important readings every time, and so I certainly would like to invite her to come up to do it again.
Sai Ram, I offer the fruits of this reading at our beloved Lord's feet. The reading for today is taken from the May Sanatana Sarati, Develop Love and Faith to Attain God. Krishna said to Arjuna, "You may be wondering, how can you think of me in the midst of battle? Remember me and fight the battle. When you fight the battle, while remembering me, you will certainly attain victory. When you remember me, I will take care of everything. One should have total faith in the words of God." Here is a small example. Krishna wanted to impart the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, to instill courage and enthusiasm in him. But before imparting this great knowledge, Krishna wanted to test Arjuna to see if he had total faith in him. Krishna took Arjuna into the forest, and while returning, it became very dark. Then Krishna pointed to a bird perched on a tree and said, "Arjuna, see how beautiful is that peacock?" He started this conversation to see the state of Arjuna's mind. Arjuna replied, "Yes, Swami, the peacock is beautiful." Our Krishna said, "Oh, madcap, that is not a peacock. Don't you see it is an eagle?" Arjuna quickly replied, "Yes, Swami, it is an eagle." Then Krishna slapped him on the back and said, "What a fool are you, Arjuna? You are unable to make out if it is a peacock or an eagle or perhaps some other bird. Now look carefully. It is neither a peacock, nor is it an eagle. It is a pigeon." Arjuna replied, "Yes, Swami, I see now, it is a pigeon." Pretending to be a little bit angry, Krishna said, "Have you no common sense? Have you no discrimination? What are you thinking? You don't seem to inquire, is it a peacock? Is it an eagle? Is it a pigeon? You are blindly saying yes to whatever I say." Arjuna replied, "O Krishna, if I say it is not a peacock, you may change him into a peacock. If I say he's not an eagle, you may change him into an eagle. You may turn anything into anything. What does it matter to me? whether it is a peacock, a pigeon, or an eagle. Your word is what is important to me. Krishna was very happy that Arjuna had so much faith in his words. He placed his hand on Arjuna's head and said to him, I bless you. Now you are my true devotee. Fix your mind on me. Be devoted to me. Worship me. Truly do I promise that you will come to me, for you are ever dear to me. Sai Ram.
Her readings always seem to fit perfectly into the program of the day, because earlier and with our speakers, we were discussing the necessity to have the faith and just be happy the way we are and where we are. I also would like to recognize Rita Daniele. She's a counselor at the Santa Ana High School, not too far from here. And I am so happy to have a guest today, Kathy Wall, who is the choir director of the Santa Ana High School. Kathy, would you please just stand and... You know how the consciousness goes. I was just sitting quietly here thinking about the choir in relationship to our program next month. When Dana Gillespie will be here, I'm not trying to pre-announce what we're doing here, but since Kathy is here, I think it fits right in. Because Dana Gillespie, we visited there, and Dana Gillespie has been invited to spend a full day at the high school working with the band and the choir. It so happens, as if I'm correct, I found out that they're adding to their curriculum a blues deal. So having her there is going to be fun for all of us. And I'm looking forward to that. And the choir director, Kathy, has volunteered as part of this program next month. Part of that choir will be here on stage performing with Dana. So it's something to look forward to. And thank you for coming today. Now, I dishonestly told Ray that I would make a short announcement, so I have to look at that as it's been dishonest. I apologize for that, Ray, but not really, because everything we've talked about is the essence of It's All About Love. Right. It's all in the faith. Thanks. But it was through a good friend, Nuala Falvey, in Phoenix, and when Barbara and I started the Psi Center over there, Nuala became became a good buddy, you might say. And through her, I was introduced to Lynn and Ray. And they happened to be visiting over this area, and right again, a few blocks from here at the Elks Club. I went over there to meet them, and they were parked their RV on the Elks Club, and spent a moment we visited the book center that time, and it was brought to my attention this wonderful book that called The Be a Ray of Hope, which is his theme today, and Lynn's theme of the talk, on where he was, again, unknowingly to him, guided to ride a bicycle in 70 days across the country to arrive on the first year after 9/11. And the purpose of doing it was just to go across country, interact, recognize firemen, recognize people that did service. It turned out to be a much more experience than they anticipated. And sharing the stories have really been wonderful. And also, he's written a book which is available, and it is called that. It's All About Love. And so when the author is here and we have the books, boy, we give a discount. So take advantage of it. We've marked them down, so enjoy. Lynn and Ray will come up and talk about this experience. Lynn was the driver of the van. The question has been asked so often of Ray that I will say it ahead of time. How long did the journey take? And it took 70 days, and he went about 70 and 80 miles a day. And I think the best question is, were you a bike rider? And he said, no, I hadn't ridden a bike for 25 years or such. So the next question is, well, you must have had a very new bikes, which, you know, what they make today is incredible out there. They're more expensive than a car. And he said, no, my bicycle was 25 years old. So with that, I welcome you both. Please come up and share.
Wow.
Wow. We did that?
We did.
Wow.
We did. But first of all, we want to thank Swami for this wonderful opportunity. And to thank Bob and the Satyasai Baba Society for inviting us and having us here and hosting us in your home, your lovely home, that is just filled with love. And that's what Bob lives. It is all about love. And we're so grateful.
Yes, we are. Now, Bob pinned us all, so I don't know if we're going steady with Bob or not, but it could be we are.
Be.
I saw a lot of us out there, so. Yeah, so we wanted to share about our journey, first of all, to Swami, how that happened and how things unfolded. I mean, why a bicycle trip and why an RV and what all happened that occurred, had that occur. And so for us, anything more you want to say about, before we go into the journeys that we took with Baba? We're going to play a little tennis back and forth here, you'll see.
Really, our talk today is really kind of a conversation. So we're going to involve you, and we would love for you to participate. You all got handouts, and so we're going to be using those today. And so we'll be talking a lot about the personal and the community and moving that love from our personal lives out into our community and out into the world. And these are just some of the things that we have done to try to live Baba's principles in our lives.
And Baba's given us everything that we need to know, everything that we need to practice in life. The wisdom is so simple. And I love what Bob did to encapsulate it being all about love, because that was the thread through every part of the journey. So for me, Baba came through learning about the human values. There's a home church that I have in Mesa, Arizona, and it was back in 1996 that we hosted some events of the Psi organization. And one of those events was Bernice Mead coming out to do a human values retreat for teachers. And I decided to sign up. I didn't know much about it. And in signing up for it, I learned the essence of these principles and how to make our life magical. And it was actually Nuala Falvey that I met at that particular retreat, and she became my Baba guardian angel. And after that retreat, there was a calling, and many of you have had that. How many of you have been to India? Raise your hand. I don't know if I can see any hands through all the lights, but I see some waving. And that calling was so clear. And so I started talking with Nuala afterwards, and we became very good friends. And she began feeding me information that I needed to know about going to India. And so my first journey to India actually happened that following year, in April of '97. And at that time, Baba was in Whitefield, which was a beautiful way to connect with Baba because there was a lot less people than Prasanthi Nilayam. And to be in that, I had some people there that took me under their wing as well. So there was an American group that formed, and I was a part of that American group and got to be front and center with Baba and many of the times where he was doing darshan. And it was just, for me, it was about a trip about opening my heart to relationships, because Lynn and I had just connected about 9 months previously. We had both gone through a previous marriage, and now we were learning how to be a couple. But for me, my heart was not open enough yet. And I learned that in my first journey to Swami. And I learned especially that the only religion is the religion of love. It's the connecting power between all of us. And I was amazed to see all the people of all the different religions come together and all the different languages that were spoken, and everyone seemed to get that it was all about love. And so that journey, and Bob shared some elements of what I really got clear. In the ashram, I was working on the practice of love with the people I met, with the times I was alone, with the times I was listening to Swami, starting the day with love, living the day with love, filling the day with love, spending the day with love, ending the day with love. Indeed, the way to God. And the conversations that we've had with Bob have been all about that as being the essence, the common thread, the connector for us to truly be happy. And I also learned, so that's actually me over there. So, guy with the bald head, that would be me. And it was so funny. This picture was taken, and someone told me about it. They said, hey, did you see the picture that was in the bazaar, in the marketplace? I said, no, I didn't see that at all. Then I was in one of the stores out there, and the storekeeper said, hey, I saw your picture. Did you see that picture? And then I was sitting there in darshan, and a friend, a newfound friend, came up to me and actually had purchased the picture for me and gave it to me. And so that sits on my altar at home as a reminder of that closeness to Swami, but more than ever to remind me of Swami is always there in my heart, because I remember that. I remember the feeling of love, of joy, of being in the proximity of the Guru. And so Whitefield was amazing, and so was a 12-hour taxi ride across India. It was very funny. The ashram is very funny because people start murmuring. They know that Swami is going to be leaving for Kodaikanal at some point in time because it's time to go with the children, but no one knows when. And everyone's speculating, and all the little games that are being played. Well, here's a funny thing that happened. Nuala, before I left, gave me a name of a taxi driver, which is her personal taxi driver, whenever she goes to India. She tried to call him for me, but was unable to contact him. His name was Francis. And so I muddled my way through India to get through the ashram, never able to connect with Francis. But then I'm walking through the bazaar with hundreds of people, hundreds of storekeepers, and then someone yells out, Ray, Ray! And I turn around, no one I recognize, and then this Indian gentleman comes up to me and says, are you Ray? I said, yes, I'm Ray. Are you Francis? I said, yes, I'm Francis. Nuala said we needed to connect. Out of hundreds of people, Francis comes up to me a couple days before Swami is getting ready to go to Kodaikanal, and Francis became our taxi driver across India for 12 hours. And so it was an amazing trip because it turned out to be a trip entirely about relationships, about me opening my heart, especially with me opening my heart towards Lynn, so that I would be ready to commit to her, to be together in marriage. And there'll be more about that in a little bit. So you want to share a little bit? And so then we got married.
Yes, we got married, and then we just said, I think we need to go to India again.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Ray went by himself the first time, and I went the second time. And this is a good friend of ours standing between us. She and her husband then were Unity ministers, and they were starting a church in India. And so that was just outside of, where was it?
Pune.
Oh, yeah, in Pune. In Pune, okay.
And the funny thing is, we didn't know them until it was the week before we were getting ready to go. I get an email from a friend who was a Unity minister in Arizona about her friend that she went through ministerial school. That's her. Her name is Mindy. And she mentioned that, they're starting a new church. Maybe you can visit them.
So it was amazing how we connected with them and actually had a wonderful time actually helping them start their ministry and get some good structure around it. So it was a wonderful time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so we had no idea we'd be visiting Gandhi's memorial,
Nope.
but it just became part of the journey, and
Right.
we formed a new relationship. It was interesting on this trip because what was it about? Every trip seems to have a theme. Have you noticed that? Every trip you took had a theme?
This one seemed to be about health and wellness for us. And so I have been doing a lot of reading about Sattvic diet, and I was very, very much interested in it. It was like Swami was just speaking to me, and he was saying you need to change your way of eating and some of your ways of being. And so it was quite the experience.
But I liked having steaks at that time.
Yeah,
from
but
time
I
to
heard
time.
you had a dream
I
about
did
that.
have a dream.
Yeah, Swami sent you something,
I had a
didn't he?
dream. And so the dream happened in the ashram. So I was dreaming that I was having this nice steak. It was all laid out on my plate. And I went to bite into it, and there were chunks of concrete in the steak. And ever since, I cannot look at anything on the hoof. And so that's how Swami got me off of meat. That little Dickens.
And that was a good thing.
Yep.
That was a good thing for us.
Swami has a way of, and even today, so it seems like it's easier for him to communicate these days if we open our hearts to really listen. He had a way of doing that at the ashram, and he had a way of doing that many times in our life. So we were actually celebrating our anniversary as well as Baba's birthday.
Yeah, first anniversary,
Yeah.
22nd of November.
Yeah.
And Swami's birthday was the 23rd.
Yeah, and he kicked us out of the ashram.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. So I guess we don't know, but a couple days before, he probably thought that, well, you need to spend your anniversary in the way that you would like to spend your anniversary, but you're not going to do that in the ashram. You go out. We have no idea, but it was the way. And it's funny because we got a place right outside the ashram. This is looking down from the patio of where we were staying. The sea of people trying to get in on Baba's birthday.
Yep. Yeah, this was the wonderful tree that we visited. We just went through the town and did a little bit of touring and saw some of Baba's childhood places.
What we were
where
told
hung
is
out.
he would sit under this place with the children and they would sing bhajans and he would manifest things. And then that was his first ashram.
Yeah, there's his first ashram.
Yeah, humble beginnings.
Absolutely.
Amazing how he taught us how you grow things organically and just allow them to flow and grow.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful to see this super specialty hospital. And that was another message that we needed to, at least I needed to really be looking at my health and the wellness of my physical body so that I could do the work that I need to do in the world.
And then Swami taught us all along that my life is my message. So in essence, looking at Swami It's a model of how each of us should live our lives. So he builds the super specialty hospital and others in other cities, the water projects, the other service projects. We learn that giving blood is liquid love and letting love flow. That's what he taught us. It's all about, with love, serving in an incredible way.
Yes, and living Swami's message the way he lived it as best we can.
Yep. And that brings me to the third trip. And so why is Sai Gita? So Sai Gita, it's nice having a pet elephant, but sometimes pet elephants do things. It was an interesting thing. The third trip to India, I was called for a human values conference. And that thread seemed to carry through each of the trips that we were in. Before I went to India, the trips I was in India, there was always new information, enhanced information on the human values. And then we were giving a retreat called a Lasting Happiness Retreat that we bring a lot of principles about love and serving. We share Baba's message with people on the last day. And that Human Values Conference I hadn't heard about until the week before. And something was just inside me, in my heart, was saying I needed to go. It was undeniable. And so I made a decision to go, and it was amazing because within a week, I had my visa ready to roll. We started our retreat on Friday, and it goes through Sunday, and we had a plane ticket for me to leave on Sunday right after the retreat. Well, it was that last day, Sunday morning, I was setting up my computer. We had slides that we showed, and all of a sudden, something's dripping out of the ceiling onto my computer. I mean, it's streaming down. And it wasn't water, it smelled like urine. And I think, what in the world is this? And so I had to really work to calm myself, become peaceful, become centered, because here we're going into our retreat in about a half an hour. Dried off the computer the best we could, had no clue what that was, and went through that day. She put me on the plane, went to India, and I got there it was on Sunday that our retreat ended. I got there on Monday, the end of the day of that first day of the Human Values Conference. All that week I had been trying to get a badge, but no one would give me a badge here. You had to be a delegate to attend. And so I arrived there, tried to get a badge, and I struggled because no one was going to give me a badge. But then I met a wonderful guardian angel there that had me follow him, and we attended everything in this Human Values Conference. But here's an interesting thing that happened. On the second day, one of the devotees was giving a discourse, and he was sharing about an incident that happened with Baba that showed his true love. And it showed his true love for his pet elephant, Sai Gita. What the devotee said was this. Baba had been gone for a while, and he came back to the ashram, and they brought Sai Gita into the mandir. And Sai Gita was so excited and came running up to Swami and was trumpeting, and Swami is just petting him and loving him, and then all of a sudden Sai Gita pees all over Baba. And Baba didn't even flinch. He just continued to show love to Sai Gita like nothing happened. And I can't imagine what it looked like, an elephant peeing on your leg. And I got it in that instant. It was just Baba's way to say, no matter what happens, just be loving, be peaceful, it doesn't matter. These are the ways that Baba chose to speak to me and still speaks to me. And it leads into our journeys. So for me, this whole notion about aligning our head, heart, and hands, it seems to open us up and has us be in the space of pure love. Anything outside of that, it's kind of like this. And so we are always connected. We are always connected to Source, to divine. It's a part of our fiber, the fiber of our being. It's the Atma within us. If you're Christian, it's the Christ presence. It's always there. It's a matter of allowing it to flow and not getting upset by things that happen in the world or in our lives that look like obstacles, challenges, problems, whatever you want to give them a label. It's allowing that to flow, to have that purity, patience, perseverance, and purity, where purity is aligning our head, heart, and hands. So our heart is always full of love, our thoughts are always about love, and our hands are always in service with love, unconditional love. And so Swami, he taught us everything we need to know. And I think Bob has boiled it down to what it's all about. It's all about love. And so that took us on a couple interesting journeys. So anything you want to say about our call to action?
Our call to action is actually, how can you help restore faith in the innate goodness of humanity and bring hope to the world that is in great need right now? And Swami's teachings for us, those are the answer. Mm-hmm. And living the way Swami lived. It's one thing to talk about Swami's principles, to talk about his lessons. It's another thing to actually put them into action. And that takes a lot of faith sometimes.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So here's what unfolded. So I shared with you the human values became a thread ever since I was introduced to Swami. There was a situation that occurred in our town in Gilbert, Arizona, where one of the high schools had 100 documented gang members that formed a hate supremacist gang. And they were going after anyone that was different than themselves, verbally abusing them, physically abusing them, and the Phoenix Police Department was well aware of this. And so I saw an article in the paper, and this is a family community, a relatively small community at that time, and how could this happen in my community? And so I went to the police chief, who I happen to know, and I asked him, is this true? Because you're not always sure whether what you see in the paper is true, what you hear on the news is true. And he said it's true. He said they'd actually had a gang task force that was hanging out with the kids to learn more about what was going on. And they even talked to the parents. And they found out that there was prejudice in the households that the children were coming from. And did the parents want their kids to act out like this? No. But they had no idea the effect that what they were saying towards certain people, how it was being manifested by their own children. So what we decided to do, I went to the mayor, who I also knew, and I said, isn't there something that we can do to bring some values into the town that everyone can practice? And she thought it was a good idea. And at that time, we were thinking of the golden rule, treating others the way you want to be treated, something simple like that. A neighboring town had chosen to take that on, and they were taking it through the town in different ways. But we decided, why don't we get together a task force to really look at what we can do to create a community with character. And so that's what we did. We got together a group of people, and we wanted to look at all the different character trainings out there. And I gave a presentation to the town council, and there was a Sai Baba devotee that happened to listen in to that cable channel. And they saw that presentation, and they asked whether they could be a part of it. And then we had 2 other devotees that chose to be a part of it. And what happened was we formed a task force of 18 different people from different cultures, from different religions, that came together to look at what we could bring into the town that we can take community-wide. And the Satya Sai Human Values Program was in the mix of 21 different programs that we were looking at. And it rose up to number 5. Didn't quite make it all the way. It wasn't ready to go. But we did embrace 6 pillars of character that are subsets of the 5 human values. And it was amazing because it tended to bring a sense of peace. It had people practicing things like what Gandhi said, to be the change you wish to see. We had people practicing in the schools. We had people practicing in the police department whenever parents and kids were coming in. The counselors were using the principles. We started taking it to businesses, even created a business manual. It went through all the schools. And it really had me see the possibilities of bringing human values on a massive scale throughout the community. And Swami was there all the way, watching it all. And so the people that looked at the programs got to learn about the Satyasai 5 human values. They got to see some of the curriculums that were created. But it just wasn't time at that time. I wonder if it's time now. Is it time for communities to embrace Baba's 5 human values? So, it's a good time for them to maybe see what they think.
Yeah, this is a good time. So there is a handout that each one of you should have gotten when you came in. And it looks like this. The first page says Timeless Messages from Satyasai Baba. And if you'll turn the page, on the back are the 5 human values. And you'll notice that under each one of the major values, truth, right action, peace, love, nonviolence, there are sub-values. So each one of those sub-values speaks to the main value. And this has helped me because it has given me some ways to think about those major categories, and am I living that in my life today? So what we would love for you to do is get out a pen, and if you don't have a pen, maybe your neighbor has a pen that they could share with you, lend to you. So I give you just a minute to get out a pen. And what we'd love for you to do is take a look at all those human values and circle 3 values that you feel right now that you are living pretty well. It's a part of your life, it's natural, it just kind of comes naturally to you. So circle 3 of those in any of those categories. Trust your heart.
Human values are like exercising our muscles in the gym. It takes practice, it takes constant focus to really live them fully in our lives. And sometimes we stumble a little bit. Things come up that push our buttons.
Mm-hmm. Right, and of course the idea is always to get back on track. And many times, as Bob Bozani has told us, it's about opening your heart. Opening your heart. Letting that love flow. All right. I hope you've had a chance to circle your 3. And that may be just the 3 for today. Maybe different tomorrow, and that's okay. So the second thing that we would like for you to do is check the one value in these lists that you would like to improve the most.
What's one you're stumbling on, maybe lately, that it's not allowing you to live fully and shining your light as bright as you can? Think they might have it.
Okay, so what we would like for you to do now is based on what you circled and the one value that you put the check mark by. We would like for you to find a buddy, maybe sitting next to you, and share. Take about 30 seconds for each one of you to share about those values that are important to you.
You can turn around if you need to, find a buddy back there.
If the second person hasn't had a chance to share, you need to switch now so that both of you have a chance. All right, if you can make your final comments. All right. So we really love for you to share these kinds of things with a buddy because it's really great support. It's a wonderful way to show a lot of love and to help each other. That's what we're here. That's what we're here for, is to love each other and to help each other.
And it's a great way to take a stand for something in your families, to, if you haven't, to bring these up often, to acknowledge when your children or your spouse is living the values and you appreciate them. In your workplace, figuring out how to acknowledge people for, maybe it's not the top ones, but something down there in the list that just helps them to understand how much that means to your relationship. These are all aspects of love. That's the beauty of what Swami shared with us with these 5 human values. Love is the common thread that goes with every one of those values. It's our way of radiating love and being rays of hope in the world. So I think we can go forward now.
I think we can go forward.
So we wanted to share about these particular values because, and we had other things for you to do, but we're going to let you off the hook. You could wear around a name tag. This name tag actually works out quite well. Wear this around. This is the story. And people will look at that and say, yeah, love. And practice that. Put it into effect. Sharing love any way you can. Just like you were wearing a name tag. I'm taking a stand for love today. And so it's interesting. There's a natural law. It's a law of cause and effect. And the more love we share, the more love will happen in the world. The more love you'll get back. It's a natural law. When we can live that law, live the golden rule by treating others the way they want to be treated, everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to be served. Everyone wants to be respected. You look at these elements, each of these sub-values under the values, I think you'll find under the umbrella of the golden rule and a thing called love, every one of them rolls under there. And it creates a ripple effect. So if there's righteousness in the heart, Swami said there will be beauty in the character. If there's beauty in the character, there'll be harmony in the home. When there's harmony in the home, there'll be order in the nation. When there's order in the nation, there'll be peace in the world. Each one of you, each one of us, makes more of a ripple than we have any idea. Just a simple smile to someone in a grocery store, or someone on the street, or a homeless person down on their luck. You'll be amazed at the effect that will have in bringing peace to the world, bringing joy to someone's life. So I wanted to share that because it was all an unfoldment that Swami was working through me with this thing called human values and with us. In that first trip to India, I shared it was all about relationships. There was a time where I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I hadn't been able to sleep. I went to bed at 12 o'clock, finally got to sleep, woke up at 3, and I felt this tremendous sense of joy, this tremendous sense of my heart opening. It was just pure bliss. And I went outside and I just started sobbing. And I brought my journal, and I was sobbing into my journal. But what had happened was, I finally came to a place because of Swami working through opening my heart, that I was ready to commit to Lynn. And I just poured onto the paper what I wanted to commit to. And I called it a declaration of unity, our coming together. What would it look like? And then I came home from that trip and shared it with Lynn. And then we crafted, actually, our own declaration of unity, which became our vows in our marriage. And it was all because of that natural outpouring of my heart, the opening, and just pure love pouring on the page. So we just want to share a little bit of that. Because if you're in a relationship or thinking of getting into a relationship, what if you could create a declaration of unity that really is your divine connection with each other in this outpouring of love? Oh, you have one there?
I do.
Oh, how, well,
I do.
that's amazing. I do. Those were our vows.
Those were our vows.
And so here's the way it began.
We believe our relationship and marriage to be a divine union of mind, body, and spirit. We agree to serve each other in the following ways during our time together.
First, to be loving unconditionally, even during times when we don't like or agree with what the other person is saying, doing, or being.
To be supportive of each other in our spiritual journeys.
To be understanding of each other's point of view, even when we don't agree.
To be an attentive listener and open communicator.
To be compassionate, especially during times of emotional distress.
To be trusting of each other's intentions.
To be allowing of each other's opinions.
To be patient with each other, especially during times of disagreement and indecision.
to be positive role models for our children,
to be a light in each other's lives,
to be lighthearted and laugh together. We amended that a couple years afterwards. We realized that was very important.
right, we added it.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in so being, I honor God, expressing as Ray.
So, in your handout, you actually have a form for creating a declaration of unity. So I'll ask you now, if you're in a relationship, just think of your relationship and what's most important to you. And then if you're not in a relationship, what's most important to you when you have a relationship to have that in? Write just one thing that's important to you about your declaration of unity with another person. If you can't think of what to say, what does love look like for you? That's always a good starting point, isn't it, Bob? So that's your play work at home. Complete your declaration of unity. So if you don't have a significant relationship yet, what if that's the energy to attract that relationship? And ask Baba to speak through you of what that relationship is. And if you're in a committed relationship, think of when it's going well. What does that feel like? So we're going to move on, but you've got that as a tool for you. So Swami introduced me to all sorts of things. He introduced me to a town hall that was all about how do you bring values into businesses, schools, any sector of society. And so there were 150 people that were leaders throughout Arizona that came to this place and came to a declaration. I'll call it a declaration of unity with each other, which said, it all starts with me. I endeavor to embody trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and good citizenship, and to apply these ethical principles. This was after 3 days. They came up with the best thing they could do was make a pledge of what they were going to do when they went back, each individually. Ripples in a pond. That was Gilbert's community with character. We spread it through the whole town, and we did it with these 6 pillars of character that were the same ones that were mentioned in the previous slide. And it was a very simple purpose, to advance the highest standard of citizenship necessary for creating a safer, more caring community. And those gangs, they didn't dissipate entirely, but they changed complexion. So they liked earning money afterwards, and so they started getting prescription drugs from Mexico. Better, but not totally there. The interesting thing is, about 5 years after implementing it, and kids going up in grades, having had the 6 pillars of character, there were some leaders that some of these kids found out had purchased some drugs. They turned them in to the authorities. They had the courage to do that. So did it have an effect? Yeah. And it's still going on. And this was started back in 1998, and they still do character awards every year, and the schools still have a character of the week that they implement. And then Swami put in my heart that I was to attend this International Strengthening Values Education Conference. But I didn't have a badge. I think I mentioned that earlier. But I knew I was supposed to go. And so I went and was able to attend things, and I didn't have a room. And guess what? Bob and I and Lynn and Richard, where you are, Richard, yep. Richard and Barbara were sitting down at dinner last night with one other person, and Richard mentions that he's from the Garfield School, or at least he was. He's retired now. And I said, Garfield School? Were you like a counselor there? He said, yeah. I said, I think I met you in India. And so we talked more, and then it came to me. He said, did you have a Care Bear program? He said, yeah, we gave Care Bear certificates out to people. I do know you. And then I had brought, this is funny, because when I was packing to come on the trip, the morning when we were leaving, something said, take your journals from India. And I brought my journals, and I went to my room because I thought I remembered a journal entry, and I found the journal entry about him. He was one of the first people I met there when I didn't have a room, and as soon as his roommate left, he said, would you like to join me? So Swami brought us back together again. We're not sure why yet, but there's something in the mix.
Yeah.
That's how Swami works.
13 years later.
13 years later.
It's amazing.
So you never know. You never know what Swami's going to ask you to do. And it's interesting because the Satya Sai organization in Phoenix wanted to put on a walk for values. Anyone ever been in a walk for values? Very good. Yeah, they're happening around the world. So Phoenix decided to do it, and they asked whether I would want to help, and it was a natural, yes, I need to help. And so we did. And what I love is what Mother Teresa said, because I don't like war protests and all of that. It doesn't resonate with me. It's the wrong energy. It's not how to invoke the law of cause and effect or the law of attraction. And so you want to share what Mother Teresa said?
Yeah, I love this by Mother Teresa. She said, I was once asked why I don't participate in anti-war demonstrations. I said that I never will do that, but as soon as you have a pro-peace rally, I'll be there.
And so we went.
And so we went, and that's why we were really involved in the walk for values. We weren't walking against anything, because it doesn't work anyway. The war against drugs, the war against teenage pregnancies, the war against whatever, it doesn't work. It's the wrong energy.
Yeah.
It does not, it just attracts more of that.
So all we did was we asked people to come, take a stand for a particular value. They walked with the banners and in that particular value, and that's who they chose to be that day, to be that particular value. You know, we had about 600 people that came. Not a lot of people, but how many people heard about it? How many people saw it as we were walking? How many people, just in an instant, saw a sign that said love and it reminded them to come back to their heart? What if it could be that simple? Just to make it visible by all our actions. Anytime we have a chance to speak, have it be in loving words. So who knows? Would you like to do a light meditation? I would too. I would too. And so that also kept coming to me in different ways as I was doing my trips to India and as we went through the Human Values Conference that first started me on my path to Swami, the light meditation. And it's something I do every day. Sometimes it's a little abbreviated, sometimes it's in its full measure. But it always seems to bring to me a sense of love, a sense of peace in my heart that I radiate out into the world. And so won't you join me on the light meditation? Let this be a reminder that we are embodiments of light and love. And now bring a point of that light from our forehead to your heart. And see this light begin to grow until it envelops your whole heart. We are embodiments of love and light. And see a bud of a lotus flower begin to bloom, blooming in this light and love. And now take a point of light to your eyes. Let this remind us to see only good and love and light in everyone and everything. Bring points of light to your ears. Let this remind us to listen with empathy, compassion, and love. Bring a point of light to your mouth. Let this remind us to speak only sweet, kind, gentle, and loving words. Bring points of light to your hands. Let this remind us to serve people unconditionally with love. Bring your attention back to that light on your forehead. Now bring people, friends and family members, bring them into this light. See them bathed in love and light. Extend it to other people that are close to you, neighbors, people at work. Bring them into this light. See them all bathed in light and love. Now see them disappear into the light. Now bring anyone that you might have some resistance towards. Bring them into this light. Bathe them in love and light. And see them disappear into the light. Now see that light grow and merge from your head and your heart till it fills your entire being, your entire body. So you're just a radiating ball of light and love. Now radiate this out to everyone in this auditorium. See them all bathed in love and light. Feel a sense of peace. Radiate this light out past these walls till it encompasses this entire town. Bathe everyone in love and light, in peace. Extend this light now out past this town to the entire state of California. See everyone bathed in light and love and at peace. Radiate this light to everyone in this country, especially our leaders. See them bathed in light and love and at peace. Extend this light now until it envelops the entire planet. See our planet glowing with light and love, and everyone at peace. Let this light now extend to the far reaches of the universe, merging with everything. Everything as one, in love and light, a state of peace. And now bring this light back to that pinpoint of light in your heart and in the center of your mind, your forehead. Know this light is always there in the form of love, in the form of peace. Take a deep breath and release. And when you're ready, present yourself back to the room and gently open your eyes. Just take a moment, just a few words to share with a neighbor. What was your experience? What was your experience?